basket that I could wrap this texture around to give you an idea on how it's going to tile. So I'm just going to start with a cylinder, something like this, and we're going to grab a fawn material so we have a highlight. And here, hopefully we can figure out where these go. What goes in color?
The diffuse.
Diffuse, right? So let's find that. Okay, so what did I name that? I think it's this right here. Okay, so I already have texture highlighted, so you can see that going. And then to get back to the main part of the material is this bottom go-to. I'm going to go bump map next, right? Bump map. And here, so what do we do here?
Normal map.
Normal map, right? Tangent normal or object space? 50-50.
Tangent.
Tangent, right? And then we hit arrow, and then we put in our normal. What did we call this? I think so. I think so too. Okay? So, oops. So that's going. We don't see any normal map yet. What do we gotta do to see the normal? Huh? 6. Well, that's texture, so we need high def, right? So we got high def that. And then what else do we need? We need our specular, right? Specular, where does that go?
Specular color.
Specular color. And when did we save that? Here it is. Okay. So you can see right now, this looks pretty ugly. That doesn't really look like how we would expect a wicker basket to look. Probably because if we looked at its UVs, look at how it's taking up that space. It's not really using it. So on an object like this, I would select this object and hit Control right, and the type of mapping I would do right here, it makes sense as a cylindrical map. So I'm going to use a cylindrical map, just like this. It looks like it does the trick.
Where's the cylindrical map?
Huh? Same place you do an auto map. So to select the object, instead of doing auto, select cylindrical. But because I did cylindrical, we get what we expect. The tops and the bottom didn't really take anything, right? So I'm going to select these faces, and on the top and the bottom, I can only UV those faces because they're only selected. So shift right click, and I'm going to map these with a planar Y, which would be top down. And there we go. So now the top and the bottom and the sides have been mapped. That is some big wood for a wicker basket. Alright? So we need to change that. And there's multiple ways on how to do it. There's more effective ways on how to change these. If you want to get to like the hyper shader, setting up node-based materials and stuff, you can literally do it with just a few nodes. It's more intuitive. That allows you to change all of them at the same time. You can do that if you want. I'm just going to show you kind of the, this is like the foolproof way on how to do it, but it's a lot more buttons. So with this done, I'm going to select here, and I'm going to click over on my color. And this is the only window we've been in so far. At here, you'll notice there's 2 tabs. If I if I click on the 2D texture tab, I get some more options, and one of those options is to repeat the UVs. So I'm going to repeat this 10 times by 10 times and hit enter.
Where's that in?
It's just this little tab right over to what you're used to seeing.
That's
right
really
here.
tiny.
Yeah, so maybe that is too tiny. So maybe we need what? Maybe 8 by 8? I don't know. We can always change it really easy. I'm now going to hit the same button we always do to get to the back to the base material common menu, which is this bottom go-to. And I'm going to have to hit it twice because I was too deep in the nodes. And now I need to do the same thing. Notice my normal map is not repeating, right? Here I got this big normal. So I'm going to click here. Click right here on the top right tab. It says 2D space. and I need to make sure this lines up the same. So I ended up doing 8, so I'm going to do 8 by 8. That's starting to look a little bit better. And I need to do the same thing with my specular. So I'm going to come down to my specular, I'm going to hit the over, and then I'm going to click on 2D space, and I'm going to repeat these UVs by 8 by 8. So I've just tiled it 8 by 8 times. And so you can see that this is currently, this is tiling. I'd like to see what this looks like.
Yeah, the 8 by 8 definitely looks better.
So say that this looks like it's kind of shrunk in the space for the size that it is tall, right? So the thing is I can come over here to my UVs and just grab this one shell, and without destroying my tiles horizontally, I'm just going to scale this up vertically, or shrink it down, excuse me, it looks like I didn't do it. You get a little bit more, this is where having 2 screens is pretty nice. So I'm going to stretch this out a little bit interactively. I'm just going to play with it until I see something I like. So maybe something like that, so I just shrunk those down. And it's completely fine. Now if I went and I changed this like this, I think it should still tile just fine. But I can, essentially I'm manipulating how many times it's tiling horizontally and vertically. So I think that looks probably pretty good. So not, not too bad. Maybe it need, come in here and soften up these edges. That actually looks pretty round. And come in here and see what we get. We could come in and see what this one looks like. I think the one I did last class might have turned out a little bit better.
How'd you get to the camera option?
So once I did, I just rendered it. I just hit this little render, first open render window, and I chose mental ray, and I just clicked the left clasp, which will render out an image. So I mean, there's no there's no light in this thing yet. We could create a light, so I could come in here and create maybe a directional light, and let's try to put a little bit of light from here to see if this is taking. So we can see that this is taking something like that. Let's see if its normal map and stuff is behaving kind of the way that we would expect. It looks like it does. And here you see this color, this little color right here. I don't know what this is per se, but this color right here is quite a bit different, right? This orange little spot, it makes it really, really obvious it's tiling. If I found a way to tone that down so it's more in line with the rest of it, I think it would look a lot nicer. So on tiled textures and stuff, you kind of want to avoid anything that's like a sore thumb. Like if you're tiling something that's on the ground, you don't have like a pop can in the middle of your tile, right? It's in a tile at 100 times, you know it's going to be there. Anything like that, any clutter or debris is something that would add on top through, decals, or maybe now it'd just be actual geo, but the actual base tile is tiling. I want to try to really avoid anything that's too unique, because that's just the color and it totally pops. And I bet if I went back to my photo that I did, it's this right here, right? It's got to be this. That's that hot spot, right? That's what you're seeing. That's popping, and there you go. If I found a way to tone that down in there, I think it would look pretty good. Overall, I think the normal map needs more pop, more curvature, etc., to make it feel like these are really you know, its actual wicker. Because right now this still, I mean, it has a little bit of depth, but overall this still feels a little flat in here. It doesn't feel like there's much roundness to the wood. So, like I said, if I was to do this, I think I would paint the actual pieces. So, if I had this piece of wood that has actual thickness, if I wanted this to appear to have actual thickness, I would need to have I'd need to create a normal map that is telling it, hey, it's a little bit higher up in the middle and it bows down, tapers down on the sides. And I'd have to get a normal map from that, and then I might grab something else to create the distances in between. So, I think that's stuff like that's probably above and beyond what we're doing. I just want you to get familiar with, how do you offset something? How do you use some of these images as maybe a starting point from, the more experience you get, in a way, it's just like you're just using those images as a starting point again, so you're not starting with nothing. But at the same time, you got to make decisions of, hey, is the cleanup going to take longer than it would for me just to actually make it? So do this one, attach it to an object, and then you also have a rock texture, which is this. The rock texture, I would go 1024 on. So don't take the rock and be like, oh, I'm just going to tile, that just doesn't fly. Texture, it needs to be something about this size, scale to 1024. You can see if you offset this this is offset by 256, it does what we would expect, but once we change it to 512 by 512, we can see this. How do we go in here and, touch this up? How am I going to continue this rock? Am I going to...
Like a patch tool?
Yeah, how am I going to... I'm just using a clone tool. How am I going to kind of extend this down here? Can I use something on this side over here? How am I going to fit this thing together so it looks like it tiles? This one's going to take a lot more work. The wicker one probably take you 30, 40 minutes. This one here probably take 2-3 hours, guys, to get the maps. With this one here in Maya, once you're done in Maya, literally for the rock texture, just bring in a plane, something like so, like this. Whatever you want to do, just something that you don't have to do anything crazy, but here I just have something. Maybe this is something that I would attach that cliff texture to. And it doesn't. I'm not judging the geo that you're making. Don't spend more than 5 minutes making a piece of geo to attach the texture to just get an idea on how it's going to look tiled. That's it. Okay, so diffuse map with an AO on. You should have an AO pass multiplied on the diffuse, and that should be all on the diffuse channel. The spec map goes into spec color. Just tweak, for right now, just tweak the slider for the cushion or the gloss map. That's fine. We'll go and actually make gloss maps next week when we start building our stuff. I'll show you guys a few things there. And then obviously you need a normal map in the rig spot. Okay, so there's 2 textures to work on. One is fairly easy. The rock one might be a little bit more challenging. Got it? Let's rock it.
So for turn-in wise, what are you looking for? Just best effort, or?
So what?
I know that we're turning this on Monday night, or?
Yeah, I'd finish it this week in a hurry, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing.
Just turn it in. You'll turn in a Maya file with the textures.
Okay.
The chances are, most likely what we'll do is we'll turn them in, but starting next week, we're all working on our own thing.
Yeah.
So chances are during class I'll have each one of you come up and just show me, and I'll just grade it right then on the spot. And that way I can give you feedback because you're making textures. So I'll probably just spend a few minutes with each every week, one next week as you're working.